Hey y'all, Zack here, the legal tech advisor at Lawyerist. Today I'd like to introduce you to Postali, a digital marketing agency that focuses specifically on lawyers. Back in January, I sat down with Postali's CEO, Jim Christy, to do a webinar on what it takes to create a website for a law firm and what questions to ask. In it, Jim described Postali's process, and we talked about the 6 phases of website development. I found his insights into phase 6, tracking and analytics, very helpful. Let's have a look.
There are some things that we feel from our experience are really important and things you really shouldn't gloss over. But that doesn't mean that you have to hire someone to do it. So I'm hoping to just present the way that we think about websites, what we have seen that works through our 10 years of experience in working in this field. And you can either take this information and work with another vendor. Maybe it'll help spark some questions that you have for them, or maybe it'll help spark some ideas for you to work on a project like this internally. And this should apply to whether you're doing a new website or you're refreshing an old one, or you're just kind of making some tweaks to something that you have. Okay, so to start out, the process that we go through at Postali is pretty extensive. We don't do any templated websites. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today are based around a more custom website. And I'm going to go through our process to help you understand what could be done. And we'll talk a little bit about what can be cut out. So our process is a series of 133 tasks, a lot of them dependent on one another, and it takes about 400 hours to do the entire project. And this is across a lot of different departments. This is content writing, this is design, it's development. So I just want, one of the things that we experience is people go, I would like a website, I'd like it up in a week. And we go, well, that may be possible. It is not possible through our process. Maybe we can tell you who could help out with that. But a more extensive process might take somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 months to do a complete quality site with quality assurance.
Jim goes on to talk about the 6 phases of website development at some length, including branding and value proposition, planning, content development and design, technical SEO, development and quality assurance, and tracking and analytics. Although the entire webinar is filled with helpful information, I found his portion on tracking and analytics to be the most helpful for attorneys to understand what some of their goals might be. So let's listen in on that.
This could really be a whole other presentation, but I at least wanted to hit on, like, let's fast forward. It's like the cooking portion of the show where I've like made the brownies and now I'm taking them out of the oven miraculously. Tracking and analytics. Your website's done. What do we do next? So the basics. Setting up Google Analytics is really important. It doesn't have to be an overly complex setup, but installing the Google Analytics code on your site and setting up goals. For us, most of our clients are concerned about 3 things. They want to know, how many phone calls did I get? How many chats did I get? How many forms were completed? That is kind of the bare minimum. And in analytics, if those are set up properly, you can say over a period of time, what was my goal completion rate? How many of those were forms, chats, phone calls, things like that. This is something that, again, relatively easy to set up. Maybe not for somebody who hasn't done it before, but it's not a heavy lift for somebody who's experienced with this. All right. Next thing is call tracking. So how does Google Analytics know how many phone calls have my website received? A call tracking platform, I think, is instrumental to anybody who's investing money in their marketing, unless you don't want phone calls, then it's kind of irrelevant. But so how does it work and why is it important? It works by the call tracking platform itself looks at where your traffic is coming from, and it assigns a number out based on the source of that traffic. So if you're paying somebody, or you're doing this yourself, Google Ads, and you've got SEO, and you've got a paid directory, and you've got social media, you're going to want to have different phone numbers for all of those. And the call tracking platform is what allows the website to understand where that person came from and then hand them the right phone number to show to that user, so that on the back end, you can say, oh, today I got 3 calls, like here, I got 3 calls from Google organic search. I got 1 from my maps listing. I got 1 that came direct. Those are really insightful pieces of information to get to your next level, which is your KPIs of, a lot of times when people engage in, hire a marketing company, they're looking at cost per contact, cost per case. That's what we try to talk about a lot. there are a ton of metrics that matter in marketing, but what matters more than anything else is, are you paying a sustainable amount of money per lead and per case? And I like to think about both of these of maybe your cost per case is great, but you feel like you can whittle down the cost per contact and that can be more effective. So as a marketing company, we would think, how do we get that marketing to be more effective? Lower the cost of the contact, or because that should subsequently lower the cost per case. And these are things that you can do really, really easily if you have a call tracking platform or some way to track your conversions that are coming in. You can just say, I spent $5,000 on Google Ads this month. I got 18 unique phone calls and 4 of those people were clients. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. You know, if you're the business executive of your firm, looking at those metrics, looking at a dashboard that says that it might take you 20 minutes a month to just recap your marketing metrics, if this is set up appropriately.
So that's just a little bit of what Jim's company Postali can do. If you'd like to know more, obviously you can go to Postali.com and you can contact them there. They're always happy to talk to people. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this was helpful. And I will see you next time around the Lawyerist ecosystem.